in the depths of shadows. As the sun's last rays faded, long shadows stretched across the old house. The exterior was surrounded by rotting trees and a collapsed fence. Inside, things were even more chaotic. Peeling wallpaper, layers of dust on the floors, and rooms that clearly hadn't been touched in years. Jonah had decided to uncover the house's secrets. Although he felt a sense of adventure, the main reason was that his family had been forced to leave the house years ago. They had been frightened by the mysterious occurrences within. Now, Jonah was determined to solve this mystery and lift the curse from the house. The inside of the house was dark and silent. Every step echoed with the creaking of the old wooden floorboards. However, Jonah didn't feel any trepidation. He was merely searching. As he wandered through the old furniture and dilapidated items, he discovered a dusty book on an old writing desk. The book's cover was faded and the edges worn. Jonah opened it to find an ancient manuscript. The writings detail the events that had occurred in the house in the past. The book revealed that the former owners of the house had conducted some sort of demonic ritual, which had trapped a malevolent presence within. Jonah realized that the house was indeed under a curse, which had grown stronger over time. As the night progressed, Jonah began to notice strange shadows moving within the house. The shadows seemed to move on their own, and Jonah continued to explore from room to room, convinced that there was some sort of entity in the house. At one point, Jonah noticed a door on the lower floor slightly ajar. Although it had been completely closed before, it was now open. Jonah decided to investigate and pushed the door open. Inside was a dark basement. As he descended, he found an old table and some ancient items in the corner of the room. On the table was an old portrait that caught his attention. The portrait depicted a couple who resembled the previous owners of the house. As Jonah looked closer at the portrait, he felt as if the eyes were watching him. Suddenly, he noticed the door behind him slamming shut and a deep silence enveloping the basement. His heart raced, and his fear grew. Then a thin mist began to rise from the corners of the basement. As the mist thickened, the faces of the former owners started to materialize, seeming to approach Jonah. Terrified, he tried to back away, but a voice emerged from the mist. The voice spoke of how the former owners had been waiting for someone to rescue them, and that the curse of the house affected not only them, but also anyone who entered. Jonah realized that the so-called demonic ritual was actually a form of self-defense used by the previous owners to protect themselves. Understanding that the only way to lift the curse was to help the spirits of the former owners, Jonah decided to follow the steps outlined in the old book to bring peace to the restless souls. Once the ritual was completed, the tension and darkness in the house suddenly dissipated. The spirits were at peace, and the malevolent energies had vanished. Jonah felt exhausted, but at peace. The house was now much calmer and quieter than before. As Jonah left the house, he glanced back one last time. The old darkness was gone, but he knew he would never forget this experience. He realized that some secrets would always remain buried in the subconscious. Closing the door behind him, Jonah felt as if the faces of the former owners left him a message of gratitude. The curse was gone, only the silent memories of the past remained.